In today's training, I'm going to go through some Excel basics and how to build some templates that I've developed and streamlined to speed up data entry. I do not know your level or knowledge of Excel, so if you have any questions, just please interrupt me. If it's too basic, let me know as well. But I know with the basic table here, it is basic, but as we get to farther down in, hopefully I'll show you some pretty cool stuff that you might not know about. First of all, the zoom function. Some people know it, some people do not. If you go up to your home menu and you go up to where it says view and you click on view, come on, here's zoom. You can adjust your zoom accordingly. They have some presets and you can click on it, and hopefully you saw my screen jump to be a lot bigger. That does help when you have a lot of, can you mute her?
Look at you.
Sometimes it's hard to see on certain screens, so that zoom function does come in handy. Right now we're going to go through, I clicked over to our cash log example, and for speed purposes, I just quickly copied over the first couple of lines. First thing I want to show you is wrapping text. Up here, and I have our heading all in already set. If you go back to your home screen, you click on home, you can see right in this area it says wrap text. If you just click on that, it'll instantly wrap your text, which is great, but you also have to know what kind of spreadsheet you're developing. And for this basic one, we're not really doing anything. We're keeping some text in there. The text will spill over into other cells, but we're really just keeping X's. So if I were to try to fit this heading into a cell or into a column, I'd have to spread it all out. And if we're just storing X's, I mean, that's a huge cell with column width. So for this case, I really wouldn't wrap text in this manner. But what I want to show you is how to align the text. So if you highlight your row again, you right click on it, you drop down to format cells, click on format, you get this window for formatting cells, and you click over to alignment. And over here in your orientation, you can change the text in whatever direction you want it to be. And in this case, we'll click it upwards. You click OK, and all of a sudden it changes. And to me, it keeps the integrity of the width of the column that's only storing a few X's in it, and yet you can read the whole header on it. For formatting dates, we know column A is just going to be holding dates. So again, we click on the column, we right click on it, format cells. Again, it's stuck in the alignment, but you go over to number, you scan down to date, and again, it's all personal preference how you want your dates to show up. We'll select this one. Now this column is all set for dates. So if we start entering in a date, it pops up in that manner. If we put in even 1/6, it pops up with this year. So that's how you format dates. And again, it's all personal preference. There's a bunch of different options in there for you to choose. Now that we have the basics of our spreadsheet down, we want to put in borders and lines and separate each of the columns. One of the ways to do that is to left click and you can drag. Let me teach you a faster way if you don't know it. It's use your Shift Control key and then your arrow key. And if you can see what I just did, I had column A or A1 cell lit up, Shift Control, that tells, and I used the right arrow, and that went all the way over to the last column. It reads that each cell has certain wording in it, and it'll bring you right to the last one. And then you can just, once it's clicked over to there, I'm sorry, my computer's, you can just drag down, select all the cells, go back up to home, and if you can see, this is your border button. You can click on it, and we can select all borders, and it gets all lit up. I don't know if you guys know about, again, basics, backfilling cells with color. So let's say these first several cells I want colored. You highlight them, you right click it, you go back down to this picture is what I guess what they call it. And then you can just select your colors, and it pops in and it colors them. And you can choose from different ones. You can also, there's a shortcut up here right next to it, and you can fill it. And quickly, cell justification. If you highlight all your rows, you can then go up to your home menu, and you can justify to the left. You can center everything in the column, or you can right justify. Real quick, real simple to do. And that's and one last thing on here. This is basically a workout log. And let's say for whatever spreadsheet you have, it's repetitive, and sometimes you do the same things in certain days and you want to track it. If you were to just select this row, let's say we did something on the 6th, but I did the same exact thing on the 8th. If I select the row, I right click on it and I click copy, and I just go down to 6, and then I hit enter. All of a sudden you've pasted that whole row down below, and all you have to do is change the date. So you don't have to add in everything else. You're just doing it with one click and then just changing the date. So that is a quick example of basic table worksheets. Now, if we were to click over to our cache log example, we're going to quickly show you how to, we already showed you how to format for dates. We'll show you how to format for numbers, how to quickly copy dates and list numbers sequentially and create a basic formula. We'll use the AutoSum, and then you already know about using borders. So for our worksheet, again, for speed purposes, I've copied everything over for us. Again, we can go to row 1, and we'll go up and we will wrap this text again because it was spilling over. So I wrap the text, but it's not showing up. So a quick way to get the row height to show all that is in every cell, you take your cursor, you go right to the bottom part of the row, and you double click on that, and you can see it automatically adjusted the row to fit all the text that is in there. Formatting numbers. When you're dealing with, in this case, we have deposits, and we also have withdrawals from our checking account. If they're all the same, you kind of lose, they don't stand out from each other. So to format for numbers real quickly, you know, in this example, you have your, the check, the deposit, and the balance are all going to be numbers. So you highlight those rows, you right click, go down to format cells, and you go to number. You can even go to currency if you want. It's personal preference. I don't like having the currency symbol in front because that can, for me, it catches my eye and you don't need it there. So anyway, number, and I like personal preference, the red number with the parentheses to show negative. So when you do that, you can see how now your deposits stand out from your withdrawals. Now, if you were to copy dates, a quick way to learn how to copy dates, usually you're doing this, one transaction at a time, but sometimes you do batches and you need to copy it quickly. If you can see that in the lower right-hand corner of the cell, there's a little square. If I were to go up on that square, you can see my cursor becomes a plus sign. I left click on it and I drag down. It all of a sudden copies the dates in sequential order. But for our purpose, for a cash log, let's say this group of deposits were all done on the same day, which was January 5th. So if I were to enter January 5th again, and I were to highlight both of them, and then just drag down with both, you can see it has copied the same date all the way through. Number sequentially, if you only had one number, let's say your check number, 15132, and again, you go to the bottom right corner, you get your little plus sign and you drag down, it copies it over exactly. But we don't need that because not all those checks are going to be the same number. So if you enter in the next number in the sequence, highlight both, get your plus sign over it, and then drag down, you can see it has listed the numbers in numerical order. It's just a real quick way to copy dates and check numbers. To create a formula to follow your cash balance, actually right here, you can see the starting balance is in this cell, and the text is supposed to spill over, but we put something into I2. So it's forcing it out. So we would need just a, if we left a line starting balance, it kicks it out the other way and you get the full reading of the text that's in cell H2. Back to our formula. We need, if we're going to track our daily balance, we need a formula that's going to not only just track the deposits, but also track the withdrawals as well. When you write a formula in Excel, it always starts with the plus sign. Can everybody see that? Give me a thumbs up if you, can you see that? What I can try to do, is that better for everybody? Every formula in Excel starts with an equal sign. You're basically telling Excel that this cell is going to be equal to whatever the value is of your formula. In our case, we need to take into effect the check amount and the deposit amount. So if you do basic math, a 0 plus a positive number, you're going to get the positive number. A negative number plus a 0 is going to return a negative number. So we are going to tell Excel to add column F, column F row 3 with column F with column G row 3. And to do that, you need to write in the sum function, and then tell it, use a parentheses, F3 colon G3 close parentheses. So right now it's adding those two numbers up. If we were to hit enter, you can see that it gave us the deposit amount. But we want to take this and we have to include our previous balance. So what we need to do is take this balance and then we need to add it to our previous balance, which is going to be found in row I, column 2. Now we have a formula that's giving us our daily balance. Now what we can do is, again, we need to copy this formula for our running total. So again, you can highlight it, get the plus sign, and you can just drag it straight down. And you can see that our daily balance is being totaled automatically. What I also like to do is when I reconcile the checkbook at the end of the month, I like to know our daily deposits. Now these are all credit cards. So I come over to row K and I go up to my, make sure you're on your home menu, and I click on AutoSum, which is over in this area. AutoSum will go to the number closest to it, but we don't want that number. We want to sum these. And I just left click and I drag and highlight all those. I click enter, and all of a sudden it's giving me the total for my daily deposits with credit cards. And then you can just highlight these cells, go back up to your borders and select bottom border, and you'll get a line underneath. It's an easy way to sum them all up and also make it look aesthetic, and then you know exactly what number this AutoSum belongs to. Let's move on to our tracking example for projects. I just showed you the AutoSum function, but we can quickly show you it again. We're going to format cells for percentages. We're going to start using data bars, and then we're going to figure out a formula that will give us our percent completed. So I'll click over. I've copied over the worksheet for us already. Here we have our list of projects. We have our estimated time for each project. We have the date started and comments to use. And then we're going to run a list of how we the percentage complete. So to AutoSum again, we want to know how much time during the week we need to allot to complete all these projects. So I go to the column B, row 12. I go back up to AutoSum. I click on it. And in this case, AutoSum is going straight up to the numbers that it sees. It automatically selects what's above it, which is what we want for this example. And we click enter, and we all of a sudden know that our weekly projects, we need to allot 12 hours to complete these projects. Now, formatting cells for percentages, we know that all these cells over here are going to be percentages. So if we highlight all the cells, we right click, we go down to format cells, and there's a percentage button right there. So we click percentage, decimal places too, okay. So we are all, I'm sorry, I forgot to make this bigger for you. Oh. So these are all now formatted for percentages. So if we go in here and we say, I did all that, that's done, that's almost done. This is, oh, I have it done written there. So you're showing your percentages for each of the individual projects that you've completed, which is all good and well. But to me, it doesn't catch my eye. It's just numbers. And to help us out with it catching numbers, again, if you highlight all the cells that are going to be holding percentages, make sure we're on our home tab. We want to go up here to conditional formatting. You click on conditional formatting, you go to data bars. You can do it automatically. The Excel puts in here some automatic gradient fill, or you can go down to more rules. You can go down here. I like gradient, and I like to use something like a neon color that stands out. And this is not part of the regular defaults that they have. So I click on that, and as you can see, the data bar really makes those percentages stand out. Now we need to, how do we do a running total and find out how much we have really completed of our tasks? Again, we go back to math, and we know that the individual completions divided by the number of tasks will give us our percent completed. So we need to write a formula. And so we need to go into this cell, E12, right next to total percent completed. And we need to write a formula. But the tough part here is that we're not just dealing with numbers. These are percentages or numbers here, all well and good. These tasks are not numbered. They're text. And if you have, like for me, I have one of these boxes for every week of the month. So you have multiple weeks on my spreadsheet. And sometimes it's 2 projects, sometimes it's 8 projects. And so it changes all the time. And I don't want to have to change my formula all the time. So we need to take in effect all these rows and cells along with all of these. So back to our formula, we first need to sum all of our percentages together. So again, formulas start with an equal sign, and then we are going to sum them. And we need to sum E2 to E11, close parentheses. And then we need to divide it by this number. Now, before we get going, it goes back to high school math. We need to, this sum is only the first part of the formula. We actually are going to need to put at the beginning, before sum, another parentheses so that Excel knows what to do. We're going to take our cell of percentages. We are then going to divide it by these cells. And what we need to do is there is a function within Excel called Counta. And the Counta function is going to count everything in these group of cells. And it's going to change it back to a number. And that's what we need to do. So we need a Counta. And then we need to do a parentheses because we need to tell it what to Counta. And then we're going to tell it A2 colon A11. A2 colon A11. And then we close parentheses. And it's if I hit enter right now, it's going to give me an error. Because I had the wrong set of parentheses. I didn't include the back one. So again, if you can see it up here, that's the formula that you need. We're telling it to sum this row of cells and then divide it against this set of cells, and it gives us our percentage. Now, if we go in and we start, okay, well, develop an ad campaign, well, shoot, that's done. I click, I tell it 100%, you can see our total percentage changed automatically. So that's something I use every day, and it's not only uses numbers, but it uses text as well. And then our last example, and this is a template I developed to take all of our reservations and revenue from our reservation system over and put it into QuickBooks. So I'm going to teach you how to put a value in once, develop a template to put a value in once and have it populate in other cells. How to also, you can see here, there's a res and then the invoice number, how to include a label with it. And then we're going to write a basic formula for converting negative numbers into positives, and then we're going to introduce you to the if statement and then conditional formatting. So if we, and I don't think I can increase the size of this because it's going to be too big. It's too wide of a spreadsheet, so I apologize in advance. So anyway, if I were to do, and this is only 2 transactions. Pre-COVID, we used to have a lot of transactions. But anyway, 2 transactions. Each transaction, there are 25 data entry points that need to be done, which is way too much. I've streamlined it down to where I only have to input 3 numbers and possibly a cut and paste, or at the most 10 entries. So cutting down my data entry from 25 to a maximum of 10 is huge. So we'll start in this column right here. This holds the dates. So if you enter in one date, we need it to populate all the way down. The easiest way to do that, again, is using a formula with Excel, which is an equal sign. And we need it to equal this cell. So this is a very easy, simple formula. Equals D4. So I'm telling Excel that this cell equals that cell. You click enter. Now, you can go in again and just copy all the way down, and it's telling Excel that this cell equals that cell, which equals that cell, which equals that cell, and all the way up to the top. That's the easiest way to do it. But if we were to go over here, if you can follow my cursor over, we have the type of payment, which is a Visa card. And I need to list Visa down here to tell QuickBooks that all these various split transactions were made by Visa. So I write in the same formula, same type of formula. This cell is going to equal Y4. So if I put in equals Y4, you see that that worked. But if I go in and I do the same method as before and copy all the way down, it's giving me zeros. And why is that? Because it's telling me this is equal to Y5, and because it's not in line with what's on top, it's messing it up. So in this instance, we actually need to handwrite in all the correct cells. And the beautiful part of this is that I can take these formulas, I can highlight them, right-click, copy, and paste them. And you can see that Excel has changed where each of these formulas point to. Up here, they're pointing at D4. Here, they're pointing at D15. So it knows. If I were to do the same over here, if I were to copy all these and paste them, and you look at the formula, see the formula is up here. Y15 is here. It knows. Excel smart enough to figure that one out. So just by doing that, we have saved so many data entries. It has really helped. And we use the same for here, where we have to list the invoice numbers. So this has to be equal to I4. This needs to be equal to I4. Again, if we copy and paste, Excel knows to make the adjustments. Now, over here where we need our purchase order number, we use the same number as the invoice, but we need a label in front of it. Now, to put a label in front of something, again, we need to tell Excel it's a formula. But to put a label, you just use quotes. And in our case, it's res. And you can see I also put a space in between where I want res to end and the start of the invoice number to begin. And then after that, it's going to input res, and then you want the and symbol, and then the cell number, which is I4. And you click enter. Now, again, if you copy and you paste, you can see Excel adjusted it already. So if I were to enter here and I do 18,000, you can see all the invoices have changed and the purchase order number has changed. And then lastly, you want to, for me, you want to, if you're doing inputting into QuickBooks, you want to make sure your transactions are all correct. So I put in first a failsafe to make sure that I was adding all these split transactions incorrectly. And the easiest way to do that was, again, using the equal symbol. I wanted to make sure that the sum of these equaled this. And so the easiest thing to do is you auto-sum your splits. But you can see you have 223 here, but it's a negative 223. And it's just because you need to put negative numbers in the split transactions. Now, your eye can see that and you go, okay, that's all good. But when you're doing 50 transactions, it's easy for your eye to miss that. So what can we do to put a check or an X next to that to make sure check is good, X is bad? You need to fix your transaction, so you're fixing it before it gets into QuickBooks. But the problem is that this is a negative number and this is a positive number. So we need to make this into a positive number. It's real simple. It's basic math in the end. A positive times a negative, you're going to get a positive number. Or I'm sorry, a negative times a negative, you're going to get a positive number. So we need to go into our formula, and we'll put in a -1, and then we're going to do a times, and then we're going to do a parentheses, and close parentheses. So if we just do that, you can now see the 223 matches the 223. And again, you can copy and paste that, and the same formula follows over, and it works. All right, now to put in is the check mark if it's correct, or X if it's not correct. You need to look for symbols first, because in your keyboard you don't have a check mark or an X. So if you were to go to the insert screen up next to home, you want to go to your insert screen, and your insert menu, you go all the way to the right and you see symbol. If you click on symbol, you can click through and you get a lot of crazy symbols in there. For speed purposes, I already have my check mark and my X right here. If I were to select the check mark, and this is the important part right here, we're not going to input it, but we need to write down that this check mark, its code, Unicode, is Wingdings 252. Character code 252. If we go to the X that I like, again, it's in Wingdings, but its character code is 251. We're not going to insert them. We just want to know the code names, or the code numbers for them, and the Unicode name. So what we need to do here is we need to write an if statement. Again, and you can see. I started to write my formula, and because we were looking at the codes, and because it was Wingdings, it changed my cell format to Wingdings. So as soon as I started writing, it started putting out Wingdings and not letters. So we need to go back and reformat the cell to the text that we were previously using. So if we input here an if statement, so it equals if, and we need to tell Excel if this cell equals that cell. So we're going to put in a W7 equals H4, close parentheses. So that is our logic test. If F7 equals if W7 equals H4, what do we want done? So we want, if it's true, we want to have the check mark in there. So we want to write in character, question mark, 252 was the character code. But if it's wrong, and we need to put a comma there because we now need to put the value in for if it's false, we need to put in the character code for the X, which was 251, parentheses, and then close out we need to close out with another parentheses for the whole formula. So if we click enter then, and you're going to go, what the heck just happened? It's giving us this U with an umlaut. That's because this is still set at the font that we had for our regular writing. So now we have to go back in. We can right click on it and we go up to the text, the fonts, and we have to scroll all the way down. And we need to make it Wingdings. And as soon as we do that, it becomes a check. Now, if we go up here and we mess with this, and instead of a 19, we can go a -20, and we screw up with the formula. So this is still 223, but this says 224. It's giving us an X. So it changed it for us. Now, your eye can still miss this. Mine did. So how do we make it even stand out even more? Well, we can go and we can write, use conditional formatting to make it really stand out. To do that, I go back up to the home menu and we go to conditional formatting, and we want to write a new rule for that one cell. And we want to say the format in this cell contains cell value has to be equal to. And then we need to put in equal. If it's equal to a check mark, which was character question mark 252, I believe it was. 252. If it's equal to that, what I just did, if it's equal to a check mark, I want it to look differently. So in a check mark, I want it to be bold. And then I want it to be green for go. So I go back to color right here, and I look for a green that I like. I select the green, and I click OK. OK, and you can see it changed to a green check. Now, if it's still wrong, minus 20, the X doesn't really stand out. So we need to then go to the same cell, go back up to conditional formatting, drop down to new rule. Again, we're only talking about that one cell. So that cell, the value has to be equal to. And again, we know an X pops up when it's wrong. So if it's equal to character 251, which was the X, help if I could hit the correct key, character 251. Now, what do we want that to do? Well, it'd be great to have it bold, but in this case, I really want it to stand out. So I want to tell it to fill the cell with bright red. That way, if I'm wrong, it's going to give me a red cell with a black X right through it. So I'm going to click OK. OK. So let's hope it works. I put in the wrong number to test it. And you can see automatically the X is there and the red square is there. If it's right, green check arrow. Now, when you're doing multiple transactions or multiple tasks, and what you do is different than what I do, so these templates might not be what you use, but you can use and apply the same things I just taught you. You can apply it into your daily applications.